Idaho hides places that feel oddly misplaced. Towns born from nuclear experiments, towns frozen beside ancient lava flows, towns so wealthy they've priced out their own residents, and towns visited more often by bears than by people. These aren't just small towns. They're towns that never developed in a normal way, shaped by history, nature, ambition, or simply forgotten by time. Some once stood at the cutting edge of the world. Others barely lived at all. Strangely, they're still on the map, even if they no longer seem to belong in the present. Here are 15 weird towns in Idaho. Real places that prove weirdness doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's quiet, cold, and lingers far longer than it should. First, we land in Atomic City. This town is the definition of a small place with an absurd but very real origin. Atomic City wasn't born from farming, trade, or railroads. It exists because of the world's first nuclear reactor. In 1951, in Idaho's silent desert, scientists successfully lit electric bulbs using nuclear power for the first time. That historic moment gave rise to a town, complete with a bar, a school, and Cold War-era optimism. The word atomic isn't symbolic, it's literal. But once nuclear projects moved elsewhere and federal activity declined, the town slowly emptied out. Today, only about 30 to 40 people remain, making it one of the quietest towns in Idaho. There's no active police force. Crime is nearly non-existent, not because it's safe, but because there's almost no one there. Jobs are scarce, median income is extremely low, and most remaining residents are retirees or seasonal workers tied to the Idaho National Laboratory. If Atomic City represents a failed vision of the future, Shoshone is its opposite, a town that never aimed very high to begin with. With a population of around 1,600, Shoshone moves at a slow, stagnant pace. Job opportunities are limited, the local economy is flat, and median income sits below the state average. There are no reactors here, no scientists, no promises of progress. Shoshone grew quietly atop the remains of ancient lava flows and chose a hard life from the start. Black lava rock isn't just scenery, it's identity. Homes, old buildings, and even city infrastructure are built from volcanic stone, thick, dark, and cold to the touch. The town feels less like a human settlement and more like something carved out of the landscape itself. Wallace suffers from a more ironic fate. It's alive, but it can't move. Wallace is one of the very few towns in the United States where the entire town is listed as a National Historic Place. That means nearly every building, homes, shops, bars, sidewalks, is considered part of national history. It sounds charming until you live there. Want to replace a window? Repaint your house? Add a porch? Be prepared for long, exhausting preservation rules. Wallace was once a thriving silver mining town. When mining declined, the town survived not by reinventing itself, but by preserving its past. Today, only about 800 people live there. Jobs are mostly limited to tourism and small services. Median income sits below Idaho's average, and crime is relatively low. Again, not because it's especially safe, but because the town is small and aging. Welcome to Hagerman, a town best known not for the people living there now, but for those who died millions of years ago. Hagerman gained international recognition because of the Hagerman fossil beds, one of the most important fossil sites in North America. This is where scientists discovered ancient horses, camels, and other prehistoric species that reshaped scientific understanding of evolution. Ironically, all of that fame comes from a prehistoric past, not from the town's modern life. With a population of around 900, Hagerman is quiet and flat, both geographically and economically. Job opportunities are limited to agriculture, light tourism, and seasonal work. Hagerman is known for a history it never actually lived through. The town feels like a backdrop, while the real spotlight shines on the ancient bones buried beneath it. After Hagerman, the journey shifts to a place that oddly tries to echo a global icon on a much smaller scale. This is Paris, Idaho. Yes, Paris has its own Eiffel Tower. It stands about 5 meters tall, right in the middle of a town with roughly 500 residents, surrounded by neither romantic cafes nor international tourists. The tower exists as a symbol of local pride, a small attempt to make this tiny town memorable. Beyond that novelty, Paris is a very quiet farming town. Jobs are mostly limited to agriculture and local services. Median household income sits around $50,000 to $55,000 per year, below Idaho's average. Crime rates are low, partly because everyone knows each other, and partly because very little happens here at all. Visually, Bonner's Ferry looks like a peaceful slice of rural America. The Kootenai River flows calmly through town, farmland stretches outward, and the main street feels unhurried. But in the early 20th century, the town carried a far darker reputation. Lynchings and intimidation against minority groups were recorded in local history, driven by paranoia toward outsiders seen as threats to the social order. Law enforcement often failed to stand against mob violence. In later decades, northern Idaho, including areas around Bonner's Ferry, became known nationally as a haven for white supremacist groups, a stigma that proved hard to shake. While not all of that history was centered directly in the town, its shadow still lingers. Today, Bonner's Ferry has a population of about 2,800 people. Median household income is around $54,000, with jobs largely limited to agriculture, timber, and small local services. This town isn't isolated in a metaphorical sense. It's isolated in a literal one. Yellow pine sits deep in Idaho's mountain interior, surrounded by dense forest and narrow roads that can become impassable in winter. Cell service is almost non-existent, internet access is limited, and reaching the nearest town can take hours. The population hovers around 40 people, and that number shifts with the seasons. Sometimes there are more hunters and miners than full-time residents. Notably, black bears and other wildlife are more consistent neighbors than humans. Bear warnings are more common than billboards. There's no police station, no hospital, and jobs depend almost entirely on seasonal outdoor tourism and remnants of mining activity. Elk River is a logging town frozen in time. It was built on and sustained by the timber industry. For decades, the surrounding forest provided jobs, supported local businesses, and shaped the town's social life. When logging declined and forestry regulations changed, Elk River's economic pulse slowed sharply. It never fully collapsed, but it never recovered either. The population is small, around 140 people, with extremely limited job opportunities. Median income is well below Idaho's average. Unemployment is seasonal, and many homes show clear signs of age and neglect. Crime is low, largely because the town is small and barely moves. Next, we arrive at a place that's still on the map, but disconnected from time. Pierce, Idaho isn't a lost town. It's a left-behind one. Pierce is one of Idaho's oldest towns. Born during the gold rush of the late 19th century, it was once busy with miners, bars, and non-stop economic activity. When the gold ran out, that energy faded with it. What remains is a small community of about 1,000 people living among old buildings and long-standing habits. Pierce has preserved much of its mining-era layout and structures, giving it the feel of a living museum with no curator. Jobs are limited to forestry, basic services, and seasonal work. Median household income sits below Idaho's average of $53,125 per year. Unemployment fluctuates, and crime is low because the town is small and aging. From Pierce, a town left behind because it stopped moving, we arrive at a place that once stood at the very front of the world, then froze there. This is Arco. In 1951, Arco made global history as the first city in the world to generate public electricity using nuclear power. 4 streetlights turned on in the middle of Idaho's desert, and the world took notice. For a brief moment, Arco wasn't a small town. It was a symbol of humanity's future. The name Arco became permanently tied to nuclear history. But, like Atomic City, that moment didn't last. When the experiments ended and federal activity declined, Arco returned to being a small town of about 900 people. Jobs are now limited to public services, local businesses, and work connected to the nearby Idaho National Laboratory. Median income sits below the Idaho average, and crime is low, largely because the community is small and aging. Arco is a living irony, a town that once powered the world's future, but never managed to power its own. Then we drop sharply back to something far more grounded, almost too grounded. Spud, Idaho is a town whose identity is neither symbolic nor subtle. Potatoes. Spud literally means potato, and that's the entire personality of the place. There's no grand history, no technological legacy, no quirky architecture, just potato farming shaping daily life. There's no complex branding here. The town's name already says everything. The population is extremely small, ranging from dozens to a few hundred people depending on the season. Employment is almost entirely tied to agriculture and seasonal farm work. Median income is below Idaho's average. Unemployment fluctuates, and crime is barely recorded, not because it's exceptionally safe, but because almost nothing happens. Spud is a town that never dreamed big, and is perfectly fine with that. Ketchum, in the Sun Valley area, represents a modern kind of weirdness. A small town with massive money, famous names, and a widening social divide. This is where Idaho feels least like Idaho. Ketchum is known as a playground for the ultra-wealthy. The Sun Valley Ski Resort attracts billionaires, CEOs, and Hollywood celebrities. Luxury homes line the mountains, and property prices soar far beyond what ordinary residents can afford. Median household income looks high on paper, but it's misleading. Wealth is concentrated among a small elite. Many local workers, restaurant staff, hotel employees, ski crews can't afford to live in Ketchum at all. The town depends on a workforce that's economically pushed out of the place they keep running. Crime is relatively low, but the cost of living pressure is intense. Ketchum isn't quiet. It's busy, expensive, and beautiful, but its strangeness lies in the contrast, a vacation paradise for the wealthy and a survival zone for those who make it function. We turn now to a kind of weirdness that has nothing to do with money or status. Soda Springs is strange because the land itself refuses to stay still. The town is famous for its natural soda geysers, water that erupts from the ground, highly carbonated, sulfur-smelling, and definitely not something you'd want to drink. These aren't man-made attractions. The ground beneath Soda Springs is geologically active, filled with volcanic gases that constantly push water to the surface. Even in the city park, you can watch water boil without fire. About 3,000 people live here, with an economy tied to agriculture, phosphate mining, and small local industry. Median household income sits below Idaho's average, job options are limited, and crime is relatively low. One of the town's most bizarre moments came when an artificial geyser drilled decades ago became uncontrollable, forcing authorities to cap it because the water simply wouldn't stop erupting. This town is a near-classic kind of weird, a ghost town that never fully died. Silver City was born during the 19th century silver boom and once ranked among the wealthiest towns in the region. When the mines collapsed, almost everyone left. Unlike most ghost towns, Silver City still has a handful of permanent residents, mostly caretakers of historic buildings and people who intentionally choose life far from modern society. There's no public electricity, no gas station, and no modern stores. Wooden buildings remain almost exactly as they were over a century ago, giving the town the feel of a movie set abandoned mid-production. The population is only a few dozen at most. Crime is virtually non-existent, and the economy barely exists, surviving on seasonal tourism and historical preservation. We drop back into a town that is technically still normal, but feels hollow. Council, Idaho is a classic case of a big name paired with a small reality. With a name like Council, you might expect a regional hub or a seat of power. In reality, it's a quiet town of about 900 people in western Idaho's interior. There's no major administrative role, no regional influence, just a sleepy main road and a pace of life that hasn't changed much in decades. Council's economy relies on agriculture, forestry, and basic services. Jobs are scarce, median household income is below the Idaho average, and many young residents leave as soon as they can. Crime is relatively low, but largely because the town is aging and stagnant, not because it's thriving.